Welcome back. It's only been a week and already we've made some incredible progress on this property. As you can see here out in the front garden, we've dumped some rubbish and we've had some building materials delivered. Now the great thing is the progress we've made means we're well on time and well on target to get this property refurbished and out back onto the market, because as you know, we're going to flip it. Do you want to see what we've done inside? Well, let's go and take a look, shall we? The whole property has been stripped out and it's only been a week and we've had some building materials delivered, because if you remember, I said one of the first important stages on any refurbishment project is, whilst you're going through the process of buying the project, is to try and make sure that you can, get yourself well organized. So what do I mean by that? Well, we planned the works, we budgeted the works, we calculated what materials we needed, and so on and so on. So from the moment that we then purchased the property, we were able from day one, as you saw in the previous video, to start cracking on with the renovation project. And it's been great fun. We've, when you're ripping something out, there is a sense of achievement, because very often you feel as though you've achieved a lot. You can see a lot of progress. Whereas when you come into the second fix stages of renovating a property, you don't see as much, or you don't feel there's as much progress as when you're ripping out. Now, you might remember there was a wall here behind me and a doorway that led into the lounge. That is gone. Okay, we've taken it out and we have identified one or two sort of minor issues that we're going to have to overcome, which I'll explain in a minute. We've stripped all of the wallpaper from this property, all of the wallpaper from the walls, from the ceilings, and we had a bit of fun doing that, because when you're stripping old wallpaper, it can be quite difficult. And believe it or not, you may have seen in another video, is we had a competition between us to see who could get the biggest strip of wallpaper off in one piece using the steamers and the scrapers that we use. Why not have a bit of fun when you're renovating, hey? That's what it's about. So as you can see now behind me, the wallpaper's gone. There's this crazy deep burgundy color, or purple, red, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, well, it's traditional, I suppose. There's a beautiful feature up here, which unfortunately I don't think we're going to be able to salvage, because we're going to have to put in a new beam, because this beam above me here is too small. So because we're creating an open plan, we've got to put a bigger beam in from wall to wall. That is already on order and is being manufactured as we speak. We are going to keep some of the features, because with a property like this, there are some fantastic original features. Some we can save, some we can't. Now, I mean, look at this coving up here. I think I showed this in the previous video. It is a nice coving. Now, to buy this type of coving is not cheap. And you can see in the center, we've got a rose there. Now, bearing in mind that all of the ceilings are going to be replastered. But on this side of the beam, that coving didn't exist. So what do we do? Do we remove this coving to match this side of the ceiling? Or do we try and buy some of this coving to match on this side of the ceiling? Now, obviously, it's extra cost. If we're going to buy that coving, it is quite expensive. So do we want to incur that expense? Is it going to make a difference to the value of the property? Or is it going to make a difference to the wow factor? I'm a big believer in wow factors, because whenever you're buying or selling or flipping a property, okay, first impressions count. You want people to fall in love with the property they're viewing. Flipping properties is all about, renovating them on budget, on time, but also maximizing the amount of money that you can generate by doing so. So you got to weigh up the pros and cons, whatever you decide to do inside a property to increase its value and to create that wow factor. As some people say, I do tend to spend a little bit more on creating that wow factor, because I am a big believer. If somebody falls in love with a property, no matter what price you're asking, within reason, they will buy it. So bearing in mind, we have stripped this property out. That wall that used to be there as a lounge wall, and the doorway's gone. Now the lean-to out there was literally falling down. If you huffed and puffed, you could have blown it down, as the nursery rhyme goes. So what we've already done is put a new concrete floor in there. We're going to crank the old roof up because it is a sloping roof and it's quite high. And we're going to put a new flat roof under that particular sloping roof so that we can stay nice and dry rather than just knocking it down and then possibly being delayed by the weather. So up there for thinking, as they say, down there for dancing. So yeah, that's the next or the only other major job we've got to do in this particular lounge. The whole idea now that we've stripped everything out and we've done most of the major structural works and alterations is to get ready for the first fix. Now, first fix is whereby the electricians and plumbers will come in and they'll install all the electrical wiring, the socket back plates, and the plumbers will come in to do all of their plumbing work for the central heating, the bathroom suites, the kitchens, and so on and so on. Now, one thing I hate is any wires showing, any pipe work showing. So they are going to have to cut out sections of the walls and ceilings and floors, whatever, to make sure that all of the cables and all the pipe work is completely hidden. And they will plaster over those so that they're out of sight. So one of my jobs now is going to be, or what your job would then be, is where do you want all the sockets placed? Where do you want the lights to be placed? Where do you want the radiators to be placed? Now, I like all of the pipe works coming straight out of the wall into the radiators. So the size of the radiators has got to be determined precisely so that the plumber can get his pipework into the exact right place, ready for those radiators to be fitted. But also, now that we've stripped everything out, we're already planning what fixtures and fittings we're going to put back in. So again, for example, if you're going to install a fireplace, you need to know maybe what size of the fire you're going to buy so that you can construct your fireplace to accommodate the right size fire. The doors and windows, they've already been ordered. Within the first week of buying this property, we measured up and ordered all the doors and windows. Very important, because doors and windows can be anything from 4 weeks upwards to a few months before they'll actually be delivered. So it's very important that you pre-order everything. Even if you're buying or going through the process of buying the house, you could, in theory, maybe order the new windows in readiness for that when you've purchased the property. But there is a bit of a risk element there. So bear that in mind as well. Now, okay, we are creating 1 or 2 new window openings and door openings. But again, we've given the window company who we use the actual opening sizes so that they can then order those doors and windows. Again, very, very important. So whatever items, fixtures and fittings that may take a long time, i.e. more than 2-3 weeks to actually be delivered, it's important that you get those ordered to save time. Remember, I keep saying time is money. So even like right now, okay, I am actually going to go around and measure up some of the things that we are going to need. So in my head, or what I've already done, is I pre-planned exactly the type of fireplace we want, what the fixtures and fittings that we can install to create that wow factor. Because like I keep saying, I want to maximize the value of this property to enable us to make as much money when we come to flip it. Some of the fixtures and fittings we're going to keep, because I think with this particular property, we want to get a balance of it being not traditional, but keeping some of the fixtures and fittings that are quite unique and in trend with the other modern fixtures and fittings that we're going to install. Now, what do I mean by that? But one thing you should always remember is to cater for the majority of people, not the minority. What do I mean by that? Well, one example could be, when you look at the colour of this wall behind me, that's not everybody's cup of tea, is it? Certainly not mine anyway. But to other people, it is. So that's not a colour that we would use when we come to decorate this property. Keeping the colours neutral, bright, light and airy is the key. I know it's tempting maybe to put in some personal choices, but try and stay away from that as much as you possibly can. Would you keep this paneling? Would you keep those spindles? What would you do with it? Would you change the colour? I know I'm laughing, but I shouldn't. Anyway, but look, I think it is important to keep these features, but maybe add the colour or different colours to spruce it up and make it more in keeping. This wall over here is still to come down because we have to install that beam, take that one out and install it all the way over there. So that wall is going to come out. There'll be a doorway over there coming in from the porch, and it'll stop short about a metre, round about that position there, which if I just come around here, I can show you. So basically that doorway there, we're going to bring forward to roughly about here. So it'll be a slightly bigger porch, but then as soon as you open the door that way, we're going to have a nice wow factor because you'll walk into a nice big open plan lounge. Now, when we did take this wall down, we were conscious on how this cantilever part of the staircase, which is the second staircase upstairs, was being supported. Now, we didn't know exactly how it was being supported or we wouldn't know until we took the wall down. And, well, it's been there for, 120 years and it hasn't moved, but it's not constructed in the way that I suppose building control would permit these days, because there's hardly anything supporting it. So because we want to keep this open plan, we have got to come up with an idea to not only support this particular cantilever part of the staircase, but also create a feature that's not going to make the lounge and the sort of open plan area here feel enclosed. So what we came up with was the idea of putting a post in under the staircase to support this particular area here. Okay, we're going to put a nice oak post in coming down there, and then we're going to put in some nice oak shelves, open shelf to put ornaments on and books. That is going to be a nice little feature. Hopefully, well, not hopefully, it will also blend in if we were to keep the spindles and existing handrails and so on the staircase. Initially, we did think we would remove all of that and put in a new modern glass open plan type of staircase instead. But we need to save some money, I think, because there are a few unknowns that we've come across that are costing us money, which means we're always on the lookout on ways that we can save money. So as we're looking around the lounge, I'm sure you'll agree it's going to be nice open plan. We're going to have a nice fireplace feature there. We're going to have nice lighting. The TV is going to be over there. But also what's important is we've got to try and envisage where the furniture will be placed for those who buy this property. Because at the end of the day, we don't want to put a fireplace, maybe, let's just say for argument's sake, over here, when in fact, the sofa might go over there, or the chair might be over there, and the TV needs to be over there, and the fire needs to be over there. So all of these things are quite important when you come to plan a layout of a property. It's not just about refurbishing, it's about the planning and how a property is going to be used. Because when you think about it, when people view a property, they very often will look at how they as a family are going to use the property. Is the kitchen layout suitable for them? Are there enough bedrooms? Is there enough storage space? Can they fit all their furniture in? Is there enough room in the garden for the children to play? And so on and so on. All of this is incredibly important, but also things like the placing or the positioning of radiators. No good maybe having a radiator, say, over in the corner there, whereby a sofa's going to go against it. So, these type of things are important. Now, some people might say, Roy, you're overthinking things. But no, I'm not. Because at the end of the day, if you get these right, whoever comes to view the property because you're flipping it, will fall in love with it. And that's the key. That is the key. Planning and thinking ahead is the key. So the lean-to I've been going on about a little bit is what some people might say, well, why didn't you just knock it down? what's the point in, trying to salvage that little room? Well, for me, it's worth it. It's approximately 2 meters by 2 meters, and at the moment it looks like a dive. I agree. It was used as a bit of a greenhouse that was linked to the lounge. If I just walk in here, I can give you a bit of an insight as to what it actually looks like. There was some shelving here. There was potted plants on there, not cannabis or anything like that. Yes, as some of you might know, we did actually buy a property that was a cannabis factory, illegal cannabis factory. But what I feel is really exciting about this particular area is that it could be a nice little home study. So for example, over here, what my thinking is, we can, once it's completely refurbished, there'll be a nice new door, lead, with views onto the garden, nice window. We can have a nice desk in that area where the computer, laptops can go. Some nice shelving over here, maybe for books and so on. Maybe a little armchair or whatever, a lamp. Even this area, this wall here can be, utilized with shelving and so on. I think, personally, it's a great feature to have leading off from the lounge. Now, when those doors are closed, okay, you're not going to see any of that in there, but it's a nice little secluded space where if you are somebody who works from home, you can shut yourself off and enjoy a little bit of peace and quiet. Or alternatively, it could be a little playroom, nursery type room, where the children can play. You can store their toys, shut everything out of sight whilst you're enjoying a little bit, maybe enjoying a little bit of peace and quiet in the lounge watching TV. Or, like I said, if you're working from home, you can go in there, shut the doors and carry on. One of the key elements when you're renovating a property is trying to not go overboard with some of the refurbs. Now, I'll admit, sometimes I do for various reasons, but you've got to make a decision. For example, a property like this, would you have come in and just taken all of the plaster off the walls, back down to stone and brick, and redone it all yourself? Would you have taken all the ceilings down and put new ceilings up completely? Would you have taken all of the walls down upstairs, which I'll show you in a minute, and reconstructed them, reconfigured them? All of that costs money. The only time I will do that is if it's going to be a home for me, something that I feel needs to be done to ensure that it's going to last for many years to come. However, in this particular property, a lot of the plastering, a lot of the ceilings are in very good condition. Some of them have already been replaced, some of them haven't. But again, they're in very good condition. So there's nothing stopping you from simply unibonding or grip bonding these areas and plastering over them rather than removing them altogether. And that way you are going to save money. Now, as we walk into the other area, which is the kitchen, everything again in this room has been completely stripped. Now, what we have identified in here is that the ceiling isn't as good as we'd hoped after we removed the wallpaper. And yes, we're going to put a new ceiling up because it's far cheaper to do so than trying to repair this and the risk of it cracking, almost immediately after we've replastered it. We've tanked the floor, which you've probably seen in a previous video. So this floor is now 100% waterproof and damp proof. We're also going to inject the walls against rising damp. So in effect, this room then is virtually ready for first fix. Now you may see here as well the door lining. What we've actually done is we've cemented and secured the door lining. It is an existing door lining. It's one that we've decided we have got to remove, but we've made sure there's no movement in it whatsoever. And where we've taken the skirtings off, you can see that we've also rendered up the areas ready for the plasterers to come in and be able to plaster the walls all in one go. Now, we've also done that in the lounge, as you can see. All of the areas where the skirtings were have been rendered up, ready for the plasterers. If there's any holes in the walls, we've also filled them because, again, we want the plasterers to be happy and be able to come in and do their job as quickly and as efficiently as possible. There's an old back boiler there. There used to be a fire, as you could probably remember from the first video when we bought the property. Now this particular wall is not in the best of condition either. So what we've decided we're going to do, because it's out of plumb, is that we're going to remove it and re-render and plaster the wall. Alternatively, we're going to dot and dab it with plasterboards. Same with this particular wall here. We're going to do exactly the same there. It's in real good condition, but we're going to plasterboard over it because this is where the kitchen is going to be. So what that means is, because the kitchen units and base units and wall units are going to go on that particular wall, we want to make sure that they're extremely plumb, so that when we come to fit the kitchen, everything is going to fit against the wall perfectly. Everything will be square. The worktops will fit snug against the walls and so on. So it's all very important. What you can also see here, where the window is, we've taken the reveals off. And the reason we've done that is because that is one of the weakest spots where damp can come in. But also in older houses is what you'll find is a lot of these reveals are quite hollow. So when the window fitters come in, they haven't got a very good fixing. So what we tend to do is take the reveals out and make them rock solid, so that they've got something nice and solid to fit the windows to. Very much with what we've done with this door lining. Now upstairs, I'll show you what we've already done in order to make those reveals solid, but also to prevent damp coming in. If we go out now here into the utility room, this is going to become a den or restroom or library or garden room, whatever you want to call it. You can see from the previous video, it used to be the kitchen, very small. What we've done here, we've tanked the floor. We're going to tank the walls tomorrow, just to make sure that there is no chance of any damp that could come through. The rendering outside on the property is quite poor, so all of that is going to have to be done. But ideally, this room is nearly ready for first fix. Now, some of you may have picked up the fact that, we've got the old windows still in. So how on earth are we going to plaster? Well, the trick is that we will fit the windows at a later date. So the plasterers can come in, and what they can do is they can plaster up to the reveal here. Windows can then go in, and then we can plaster the reveal. So there's no delay in getting the works done. If some people would think, oh, wait till the windows come, but there's a lot of work for the plasterers to do inside the property, so it's well worth them coming in to plaster all the walls and ceilings, but leave the reveals until the windows and doors are installed. One idea that we did have when we bought this property was to possibly take this particular wall completely down and make the garden room, or what used to be the kitchen, and this room into one big room. But there is quite a cost element in taking that wall down, because that is a structural supporting wall, which means there's a lot of work involved, a lot of cost to take that down. Now, if it was going to be my own home, one to live in, then maybe I would do that. But ideally, to have a nice little snug area out there, garden room, with some nice features, is going to be a plus, I think. And having the kitchen then in this nice big open space is, again, a big plus. So I don't think we've done anything wrong by deciding to leave that chimney breast there, and make it work. Make us work around it. So hopefully you're getting a feel as to what we're thinking and doing with this property and how it'll come together. There is a lot to think about, granted, but at the end of the day, the more preparation that you do when you're buying the property and thinking and planning ahead, the easier it is. Now, bear in mind, we did actually strip this property out in 2-3 days. Now we're virtually ready, give or take a day or two, for the first fix to then come in and take place. Anyway, let's go upstairs and I can show you exactly what's going on up there. Now, you may notice that even though we've stripped everything out of this property, I've actually left the carpet down. The reason I do that is because if you remove the carpet and you intend to keep the existing staircase, trust me that when you're refurbishing and stripping out and then plastering, I guarantee that the staircase will end up getting badly damaged. And that is why I always insist on every project that we leave the carpets down. Now this is the cantilever staircase that I showed you downstairs earlier in the video that we have to support, and this then comes onto this landing up here. And as you can see, we've stripped everything out, like I've said. We've put the new door linings in. We filled up behind the door linings to make them nice and secure so it's ready to be plastered. Okay, we filled in any gaps in the walls. As you can see up there, there was already some plastering done before, and we've also installed some plasterboard on this section of the wall. And the reason for that was the plaster on the wall, like this particular area, had actually cracked and blown. So it was easier for us to remove it, plasterboard it. So again, it's going to have a nice finish. See the line ends? They're all filled in. Okay. More plasterboard in between. That was, we had to put that in. And then if you look in the bedrooms, we've actually filled in all the skirtings that we removed. Any gaps in the walls, maybe any old, old movement cracks, and so on. Ceilings are in pretty good condition. They're going to be uni-bonded and plastered over. And what we've also done, as I mentioned downstairs, is that we've tidied up around the existing windows. So when we removed the window sills, they were in a shocking state, as you can see here. So we've concreted in new sub-bases for the window sills to now go on. And we've also started to fill in the reveals around the windows. Now, because they're so thick and deep, we're going to have to put a few layers of cement on, so that when these windows are removed, we'll have a nice fixing for them to be fixed into, and then the plasters will be able to plaster right up to the new windows to give a nice finish. I think it's very important that you try and think of these things whenever you're renovating a property, because at the end of the day, if you want to flip a property and maximize its value, you need to create a high-end product. People will pay for high-end products. They will pay for good quality finishes, good quality workmanship. People are more savvy these days than ever before. I've seen in the past whereby people have invested in property thinking they can make a lot of money, spend as little as possible, and still get maximum value. That may have been the case to begin with, but trust me when I say that is no longer the case. And it's when you do a high-end finish, a high-end product, do you get a good reputation for flipping properties. I've had people queuing up, putting their name down on a list, wanting to buy properties that I'm renovating from me, because they know I do them to a very high-end quality, and they just absolutely love them. Wow, that is something I am proud of. But if you're starting out, all of this advice I'm giving you is absolutely paramount to bear in mind. So when you come back onto the landing area, it is a nice big landing area. And as you can see, we've covered up the banister because we're thinking, as I say, of keeping the spindles and banisters, so protecting those from damage, getting chipped, getting knocked, getting broken is really important. If we now go back down this staircase, I could just show you the other area of the property. You might recall it is 4 beds. So what we've got over here is the bathroom. Let me put the light on in here for you. Oh, that's better, isn't it? Now, everything in here has been completely stripped out, apart from the radiator. And what we've done is we filled in the areas that had holes in, as you can see here. And then because the wall was so uneven and not plumb, we've boarded that top half of the wall. So if we were to put a spirit level against there now, I'll just show you, it's more or less going to be plumb. Dun, dun, dun. Yes, good job it was, otherwise that would have been embarrassing. So what that means is we can just plaster straight up over here. This is going to be a nice high-end modern bathroom. We were originally going to install it into this room here, which I did say in a previous video we were going to do. However, we've changed our mind because I think it's more important to have a bigger bedroom, a bigger fourth bedroom, than a bathroom and having a smaller bedroom. In other words, if we were to put the bedroom in here, it would more or less be a single box room type bedroom. So we decided we're going to make this bathroom special and keep this as a fourth bedroom. But we decided we're going to put a nice new window here that will overlook the garden. However, I made a mistake. Well, not really. I forgot when we decided to put a window in there, here, that this was in fact the chimney breast wall from downstairs. So when we started to knock through, ready to put the lintels in here, for the window, we discovered the chimney that was coming from downstairs. So what that means is that this wall is actually 24 inches thick. Quite a thick wall, really. It's not the end of the world. We can still put the window in there, but it's a lot thicker than we anticipated. So we have to be extra careful when we're cutting this window opening out so that it doesn't collapse. The boiler here, we're going to put downstairs rather than keeping it in the bedroom. So there's going to be plenty of room in this bedroom then for double bed, wardrobe space, and so on. What we are thinking of doing though is maybe blocking this window up, because now that we're going to have one here that's going to really elevate a lot of lighting from the back end of the house, blocking that window up there may create more space for a fitted wardrobe or something like that. Again, send me your point of view, what you think. Should we keep it? One window, two windows, or just that one window? What would you do? So as you can see, the only structural works that we've got left to do is put the beam in downstairs, roof on the lean-to study area that comes off the lounge, and this new window. Other than that, everything is done, and it's just about ready for first fix. Now, my mind is working overtime because I'm still thinking of the finishing fixtures and fittings that we are considering putting in here. Where do we spend our money? Now, we've already budgeted where we're going to spend the money, but what you might find is that when you're renovating a property, as you start to, create the openings like we've done here, and you get a feel for the property, you may change your mind, because what you might have thought of would work prior to maybe us knocking this lounge wall down may not now work, that you've got a feel for it. But again, you must stay in budget. Remember, at the end of the day, you're doing this just not for the love of it, but also to make money. Now, I haven't mentioned much about the externals of this property. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take you outside and just show you what we've done there whilst we've been working inside. So we've had one or two guys working inside, and then we've had somebody working outside. And by doing so, it means that not only are we getting on with works inside, but we're also getting on with works on the outside. If it's raining outside, then maybe we can do more work inside, and vice versa. But it is all very, very important that you think like this, because like I keep saying, time is money. Anyway, let's go outside and have a look. So this area, we're going to actually completely renovate and create part of the den, the garden room. We are going to have a downstairs toilet, which this will be completely refurbished and turned into. And there, as you can see, we've got that lean-to that is going to become the study, playroom, whatever you want to call it. Now, the condition of the property on the outside isn't as good as, we would have liked to hope. You can see there's a lot of cracks. A lot of the rendering is blown. So the idea is we're going to put scaffolding up, and we're going to take all of this render off, and we're going to re-render it to make it look nice, modern, bright, fresh. And that will also help, obviously, make the property watertight. Now, the garden area, if you remember, we used to have a little garage down there. That is now gone. We used to have a little lean-to here. That is now gone. All part of the stripping out process. Now this is where we managed to save a little bit of money, but can you guess how? Well, before I reveal that, as you can see, with the lean-to now gone, we've got to do a lot of patching up work to make this all good, ready for rendering. The plumbing side of it's going to be altered. And what we plan to do then is to create a nice new patio area here. That will increase the value of the property. The lawn and hedgerow, nothing wrong with it at all. It just needs to be tidied up, a little bit of landscaping, and you'll be surprised what a difference that will make. And I will prove that to you by doing it and showing you in a later video. But if we go down to the back of the property, like I said, we've demolished the garage, and we've demolished the old stone wall that was subdividing our property from next door's property. And what we've done also is all of the rubble, the stripping out from the inside of the property, we've actually brought to the rear of the property. Now all the tin from the garage is gone. We've got a scrap merchant who went and took all of that for us. And we're using all of the rubble from inside the property to raise the level of this particular area. So basically we're going to take these bricks off here and we're going to brick up, okay, all the way across here with engineering bricks. We've got a pack of engineering bricks there. Create a few steps here to go up onto this platform. We're then going to level all of that platform there for off-street parking with scalpings and so on. So by backfilling everything, we're then able to put some hardcore down and either concrete it or put some chippings down so they can pull their cars in and park them safely within their own back garden. We're going to put some nice fencing up here to then isolate or segregate the off-street parking from the garden. We're also possibly considering putting in some bifolding gates here so that they can then close off the off-street parking and nobody can have access to their cars. That, I promise you, will increase the value of this property substantially. So by placing all of the rubble here, not only saves us on the cost of skips, but it also saves us from having to buy more hardcore to raise the levels up. So what do you think? Good idea? Like I've said before, whenever you buy a property, it's all about buying a property below market value, but also on thinking how you can increase its value to maximize the return on your investment. Now, this garden is quite large. It's quite good, actually. And yes, we could go and spend a lot more money on landscaping it, you know, but at the end of the day, by creating the off-street parking, by creating a patio area here, re-rendering the whole exterior is really going to modernize, make this property look more modern, and a property that somebody is going to fall in love with. And that is what we always look at whenever we look to buy a property for investing in. So there you have it. In my next video, I will actually take you around the process of the second fix, what we do, how we go about it, and what, if any, additional costs we come across. Now, don't get me wrong, you know, we've got to do some additional repairs here. We've also got to do some self-leveling on the kitchen floor because the floor's running out quite a lot. So in the next few days, yes, the priority is going to be to make sure that we get everything done 100% for the first fix, okay? That means installing the beam, doing that little lean-to, self-leveling the kitchen floor, getting that window opening constructed, and so on. Because there's going to be a bit of rubble from that window upstairs, which we're going to use to help level the rear off-street parking area. So, up there for thinking, down there for dancing, as they say. Already, I've ordered loads of materials, ready for the first fix, ready to get all the other bits and bobs done. And hopefully, as time goes on, we'll be ahead of our time schedule and within budget. So what I'm going to get on with now, I'm going to just double check a couple of measurements for the radiators, double check the size of the bathroom so that we can order the bathroom suites and various other bits and bobs to help us move forward. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to this channel. I'd love to be able to share with you the rest of this property renovation project so you can learn how to do it properly and profitably. Till next time, take care.